Well, this next case out of Toledo, Ohio is equally sick. And this one is where the facts have been coming out super fast and each one just feels worse and worse. And as I was reading and doing research, I was feeling the same way. So, this is the case of Malachi Calder, who's a 27-year-old man who everyone described as being hardworking and just a genuinely kind person. He had recently graduated from the University of Toledo and had completely rebuilt his life from the ground up by working for everything he had. Because Malachi had actually once faced homelessness and almost had nothing to his name at that time. But over the course of just a few years, he worked his way out of it, earned his master's degree, and by all accounts, his friends said this was one of his most proudest achievements. People close to him actually said Malachi didn't just rise above his circumstances, he refused to let them define him. He was reliable, grounded, and loved by everyone around him. And that's why it was so disturbing when suddenly he stopped answering his calls and messages on November 15th. People noticed immediately because it wasn't like him, not even a little bit. And after a few days on November 21st, Malachi's family asked police to check on his apartment. So the officers did do a welfare check. But at that point, nothing really stood out. The report said that the shower was running, the TV was on, and the dog was barking, but there were no foul odors or anything that would have indicated that something had actually happened to Malachi. But that didn't last long because 3 days later, on November 25th, police tracked down a truck registered to Malachi. And when they arrived and pulled the truck over, it wasn't Malachi that was the one driving. Behind the wheel was 33-year-old Martell Huggins, a man with a documented history of violence, including a stalking charge from 2024. And inside that truck is where investigators found a truly disturbing scene. According to the police and the coroner's office, parts of Malachi's body were discovered inside the vehicle. The medical examiner later ruled Malachi's death as a homicide, noting that he had both gunshot and stab wounds to the head. And after that, he had been dismembered. Remember how I said the details just kept getting worse and worse? And his cause and time of death are still unknown. But obviously, with this discovery, Martell was arrested on the spot and later charged with murder and felonious assault. The judge has set his bond at $1 million. Thank God. But what investigators have yet to figure out is what Martell's motive was, which was my question also, or if he and Malachi even knew each other at all. This felt super gruesome, and this timeline has some big gaps, including what happened in between the time Malachi disappeared and the time when Martell was found driving his truck. So there's just so many questions. What happened? How did it escalate to this point? Was this planned? But right now, investigators say they're still processing evidence, conducting interviews, and piecing together the digital data to figure out what happened in the days leading up to this. But for this community in Toledo and for all that loved Malachi, this has already left a really huge mark. He had survived so much in his life, rebuilt it, worked so hard to get his degree, and for this all to end like this is just truly heartbreaking.